After sambering in Sao Paulo, it's time for mayhem in Mexico. The ABB FIA Formula E World Championship kicks in for the 10th time here in Mexico. Welcome to the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez for round 2, season 11. Mitch Evans is our championship leader, 25 points for Antonio Felix da Costa on 18, Taylor Barnard has 15, Sam Bird on 12, Eduardo Mortara has 10, it's 9 for NATO, 6 for De Vries, Buemi on 4, Verline 3, Tictum on 2. In the team's championship, Neil McLaren have 27 points, they're 2 clear to Jaguar TCS Racing, who are 3 clear to Tag Heuer Porsche. Mahindra have 16, 9 for Nissan, 4 for Envision, it's 2 for Cooper Cairo, and then DS Penske only have 1. No points for Maserati, Lola or Andretti. And in the Manufacturer Championship, Jaguar leading that brilliantly to Nissan in second, 31 to 27. Porsche have 22 with Mahindra on 18. Stellantis has 3, Lola still on 0. Hello everybody and welcome to the first practice session of the 2025 Mexico City E-Prix. We're about 30 minutes out from the green light going on, so let's take a look at what happened in the press conferences for the teams and the drivers earlier on this afternoon.
Well, welcome to Mexico City for the second round of the 2024-2025 ABB FIA Formula E World Championship. First of all, thank you to everyone who's attended today. Ahead of the Hankook Mexico City E-Prix, we're going to hear from some of the drivers later. But first, please welcome our team principals for today. Florian Modlinger from Tag Heuer Porsche Formula E, Ian James from Neil McLaren Formula E, and Frederick Bertrand from Mahindra Racing. We'll start with you, Florian, as you're sat in the middle here. And first of all, we need to start with Pascal, because what we saw in the first race of the season in Sao Paulo was a very tricky moment for Pascal and for the team. It's great to see that he's okay, and to come to this track where not only he's been very successful before, but where the team has been very successful before, it seems like a perfect way to maybe get over what happened last time out in Brazil.
Yeah, hello everyone. Great to be here on this place again in front of such passionate fans. Always nice to come here. Looking back to Sao Paulo, clear was a tough one and a big one, and luckily we can say Pascal is okay. The mechanics did a fantastic job to build up a new car for him here, and yeah, the performance in Sao Paulo with both drivers looked strong. Pole position and then P2 for Antonio, and hopefully we can come back here with both cars in top spots. And when you look back, as you said, it's a successful place for our Porsche 9NX Electric, because in the last 3 years, I think, on the top spot was a Porsche 9NX Electric, and the team is fully motivated to repeat this.
And of course, Pascal had the first win for the team here as well. Talking about Antonio, a second place finish last time out, you must be encouraged by how quickly he's got up to speed with the new Gen 3 Evo car.
Yeah, well, we saw it already during testing, then in the pre-season test in Tiarama, and I think both drivers and both car crews performed very well in Sao Paulo. With the accident of Pascal, we missed out to have, with both cars, a chance for the podium, and this we want to tackle here then.
In Season 8, it was a 1-2 for the team. What do we need to see, and what do the team need to do right this weekend if we're going to see a repeat of Season 8 here this weekend?
Well, I think Season 8 was very, very special, especially it was still racing with time, not with laps. And this additional lap, which we did there, I think was something extraordinary and was a great success for the team and for Porsche as a make. But in Formula E, nothing is granted. You cannot relax, you cannot look back what was good. You need to push every single event, and how rare a double win in Formula E is. When you look back the last 10 years, it did not happen often, and to repeat such thing, everything needs to fit together on the race day.
Well, best of luck this weekend. There will be an opportunity to ask questions to all of our team principals at the end. We'll move on to you, Ian. You come into this race weekend at the top of the tree in the team's championship after a very strong weekend for the team out back in Sao Paulo. What do you need to get right this weekend to end the weekend still in that same position, number one?
Yeah, well, firstly, again, to echo Florian's thoughts, fantastic to be back here in Mexico. You can see even from the media centre here, just the interest is phenomenal. And I know when we get out there tomorrow with the fans, they bring the passion, the excitement, the atmosphere. It's a real pleasure to be racing here again. Yeah, a really strong weekend for us in Sao Paulo, but a messy weekend at the same time. There was a huge amount of stuff that went on, and testament to the maturity and control that the drivers had to keep a cool head through all of that chaos, and to the team as well. The operational excellence that we speak about so often was really there on show, and when it came down to it, we were able to get those strong results. But we don't take anything for granted, and I think Mexico here, it's going to be a very different E-Prix to that which we saw in Sao Paulo. Having said that, I think it's going to be a different E-Prix to what we've seen in the past in Mexico here as well. We've seen the potency of attack mode that plays a really strong role now in the races. I think it's going to play a strong role even on a track which is traditionally not that easy to overtake on. So in terms of what we can do, it comes down to that execution again. It's just making sure that you take the right decisions, and then things go your way as they start to unfold over the weekend. I think actually having that strong performance and that consistency through each of the sessions, FP1, FP2, quali, and then into the race, is going to be crucial as well, and that's what we'll be focusing on.
You mentioned the messy weekend last time out with the penalties, and I know that Nissan and yourselves have been looking into what caused that. Where are you at with the findings of that, and are you sort of concerned about a similar thing happening this weekend, or has it all been ironed out now?
Yeah, I think it showed a slight lack of maturity in the overall package, but at the end of the day, everybody's trying to get the most performance that you can out of it. And as you come, especially when you're starting this new Evo of the Gen 3 car, as you're pushing the boundaries, sometimes you step on the wrong side of them. And I think that, again, over the weekend, the team, and together with Nissan, reacted well to those challenges. A lot of work has gone on behind the scenes over the Christmas period to make sure that we're in a more robust position going into Mexico. I think the confidence is there within the team that, and again with Nissan, that they've resolved some of those issues. We're not really going to see where we're at until we actually get out on track. Fortunately here in Mexico, it's not quite as bumpy as we had in Sao Paulo, but we are going to visit tracks later in the year that are going to have those same kind of features. So we need to make sure that we've got everything under control.
How impressed are you with the partnership of your two drivers, Sam Bird and Taylor Barnard? Because they've clicked instantly and already started very strongly, and they seem to have a great relationship off track as well.
Yeah, they do. They're both, similar in some ways from a character perspective, but also have their differences. A lot of people are talking about the experience of Sam, coupled with the fact that Taylor, to all intents and purposes, is a rookie. But they actually work together very well, and often as a team, we look for drivers who aren't just as fast as they possibly can be, but really input into the development of the team, and both of them that do that very well indeed. But it's nice to see that camaraderie. It's a lot easier to manage when they're getting on together. It's going to be fascinating to see how that develops. If we're in a position where the two of them are close in the championship and fighting for points, especially later on in the season, where we're going to have some changes to the format potentially of the races themselves. I think that's going to be fascinating to see how that dynamic unfolds. We're all excited to see how that pans out, Ian. Thank you very much. Frederick, we'll move on to you. A good showing for you also in Sao Paulo, 5th and 6th for Mahindra. Great result for the team. Is that showing of your progress and where you are likely to be this season? It's not an anomaly?
I think, yeah, Sao Paulo was a good start of season, and we are all excited to see now Mexico with a good start of year. But definitely for us, it was a good achievement. First of all, in the way we did it, because it was very consistent from the drivers and from the team, and a good reward for all the work done by all the technical team behind to make that car appearing and coming in good shape with good reliability. So a lot of satisfaction, but as my two colleagues said, I think you cannot take anything for granted. That championship is so tight and the conditions were so special that it is really difficult to take some conclusion out of that event. But it's better to take the points when you can take them. So we were very happy there, and hopefully we can do that again for this weekend.
This race weekend here in Mexico City was a little bit of a struggle for the team last year. How much does that positive result from Brazil give a morale boost to the team coming into Mexico City?
To be honest, Mexico for me has been two different flavors on the 2 different years we participated with this new position as team principal. The first year we came pole position and podium. The second was a bit more difficult and I forgot the position maybe. But definitely we look forward to an event which will be really different from all the 2 others on our side, because we are for sure much better prepared with a much better car. And our drivers are really looking forward to this event. And on the other side, with all the changes in the regulation, this huge impact of the 4-wheel drive and the attack mode will really change the physiognomy of the race and the strategies. So we can expect a Mexico race which will be very entertaining, hopefully not too much for us, because it's difficult in terms of stress when you really don't know how things are going, but definitely a lot of expectation and probably a lot of fun for the fans, definitely, and for us, hopefully.
You've answered my next question, so I will ask you a bonus question of, I saw Edo and Nick making, I think it was maybe salsa or guacamole yesterday. Did you try it? Was it any good? Are they good chefs? Did they get the Mexican vibe?
I think we have a quite creative communication team, and they had that good idea of giving our driver the taste of spicy Mexico salsa, which I was not so fan at the beginning, to be honest, because I really want them to be in good shape to drive. And we all know that that spicy taste might have some consequences. But for the moment, the consequences have been really good. It helps creating the team spirit we want. The 2 drivers are really working very well together. And this shows again that they can even create a recipe, which at the beginning was thought of being 2 different salsa and became only one at the end. And I think it's the good summary of the way we want the team to run. We have 2 guys running and working for one entity, which is the Mahindra Racing team. And we hope it will be as spicy as the sauce, but as good as the sauce also, because it was a good sauce.
I love the sauce analogy, and hopefully there are no negative consequences of the sauce. We have time for some questions from the assembled media here, if anyone would like to put their hand up, and you will be given a microphone. Wow. We have no questions from the media.
It's like a tumbleweed moment.
Okay, I've got a bonus question for Ian. We obviously saw Sam Bird celebrate his birthday this week. I've heard a rumor that Taylor got him a capybara, which is a little bit early because Japan's a little way down the line. But what did the team do to celebrate Sam's birthday this week? It's always good to have a driver celebrate their birthday on a race weekend, I think.
Yeah, I must admit, I wasn't aware of the capybara, so that's news to me. I'll try and find out. We did have a mariachi band here play him happy birthday, which was a lovely moment, and presented him with a cake. I think Sam was saying this is at least the 5th year, maybe more, that he's celebrated his birthday here in Mexico, so it's a very special place for him. The problem is, it's always at the point in the weekend where he can't actually go out and celebrate. So I'm hoping one year we'll have it on a Saturday, so that we can get out into Mexico City and celebrate properly in true McLaren fashion.
If it's a strong weekend, then Saturday night could be a good one. I'm going to give everyone one more opportunity to ask a question before we move on. No, Florian, I've got to ask you a bonus question as well. We saw Antonio playing golf recently with a few former footballers and Jeff Dodds, the CEO of Formula E. What did you make of Antonio's golf swing? Because he's only been playing for 2 years, but I thought it was pretty good.
In my opinion also, what I can follow there, he's doing well. And I think it's also a sport and where you can network and so on, and he fits in there well. He's enjoying it and makes it, on a great level.
He did it like he does everything with a big smile on his face. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us, and we will welcome the drivers in the next few minutes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, please welcome our 3 drivers: Nick Cassidy from Jaguar TCS Racing, Oliver Rowland from Nissan Formula E team, and Jean-Eric Verne from DS Penske. We'll start with you, Nick. A tough start to the season for you back in Sao Paulo. How are you feeling, though, coming into this fresh weekend after the festive period here in Mexico?
Yeah, I mean, it's great to be back in Mexico. It almost feels like round 1 for me. 2025, first weekend, 0 points, rolling into it. No, but on a serious note, look, great weekend for the team. To be honest, in Sao Paulo, with Mitch getting the win in the end. We weren't the most competitive as we would have liked to be in free practice and qualifying. But in the race, we were okay and we could fight. So, yeah, let's see how the next weekends go. I'm sure they'll be tough. Both these guys beside me, look good in Sao Paulo, and I'm sure they'll be good in the rounds to come.
This is a track where you've had some good results. You're on the podium last year. How confident are you that, as you say, this is kind of the start of your season now, that you can come away with some good points?
Not sure, honestly. Look, I think we're a little bit behind where we want to be with this car. We've got some really, really cool, exciting things in the pipeline where I think we got to wait to the break after Jeddah to see how that kind of comes on. And I'm probably more hopeful for the second half of the season than I am right now. But it's all okay. I think the team's working really well, working really hard, and we'll see what happens this weekend.
You were the first driver, one of the first, if not the first driver, to deploy the new attack mode last time out, which a lot of people have been talking about with the impressive results you got with that attack mode. Were you surprised with what you felt and what you saw that first time using it in a raced situation?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was the same effects for everyone, right? We all went forwards with it, we all went backwards without it. That's just the name of the game, I think. Probably, it is quite extreme. Most teams, I guess, predicted this. This weekend it's a little bit of a topic because the last couple of years the races have been quite processional, and hopefully this weekend, things like that can mix it up.
How far into the season do you think you need for attack mode to have a good understanding of the strategy of where you use it? Obviously, you used it initially quite early last time out.
Yeah, I mean, that might not be the case everywhere, and I don't know if that was the correct strategy in Brazil or not. Probably most teams will converge together, but it is extreme, and my one worry is that the races will be won on a bit of a luck factor at points throughout the year. For sure, you're going to see the same fast guys at the front fighting for the win, but I think there'll be quite a few occasions with this new race format that there's a bit of a luck factor in a victory.
Okay, thank you very much, Nick. We'll move on to you, Oliver. You qualified very well last time out, and you led for a lot of the race, but it wasn't quite the result you wanted there. How important is qualifying well here in Mexico, given that we are in the new Gen 3 Evo era, and we have a new, even more powerful start than before?
Yeah, qualifying is always important. I think when you can qualify at the front, you can manage the race a lot better, manage your energy and control your race. I think if you don't qualify at the front, you get into more of a risky part of the race where your race can be ended quite easily with contact or whatever, and something outside of your control. So qualifying is always important. Honestly, heading into Sao Paulo, we're a little bit unsure if we'd improved enough over one lap to be right at the front, but we proved there that we had good pace. And I think coming into this weekend, we need to kind of try and do the same thing again, where we work in a good way over the weekend and try and be in a good place heading into qualifying. And I think I'm quite confident in the races that we have a pretty good package. So it's just about trying to be there or thereabouts on the grid and manage everything from there.
How confident are you after the issues that were present for both yourselves and McLaren last time out in Sao Paulo? How confident are you that those have been addressed? And what's your understanding? Do you feel like you have a full understanding of what the issues were?
Yeah, I think they had a pretty good understanding straight away of what the problem was. Basically, the starts now are obviously four-wheel drive, but there's a point where you have to switch back to two-wheel drive when we didn't have the right translation, let's say, from four to two-wheel drive. And the reason that I didn't get one in the first one was because I lifted before you have to go to two-wheel drive. So the other three got one on the first one, and then I was then getting one on the second one. A little bit frustrating because I think they knew the problem was there during the red flag, but they didn't say anything to me or take any measures to make sure it didn't happen, whereas they did with the other three cars. So yeah, there was a lot to kind of learn from that and make sure that we don't make these silly mistakes in the future.
It's obviously very early in the season. I know drivers don't tend to like to make too many predictions, but what do you feel is achievable for Nissan going forward this weekend onwards in this campaign?
Well, look, I think we had a good year last year. The car was performing well. I'm very happy in the team. I'm in a good place mentally. I think we showed last year that we could score podiums quite regularly, and we would like to think that we've improved the overall car performance this year. But we would be a little bit silly to assume that the others are not going to be extremely competitive as well. So I think you can't expect too much in this championship. I think you have to take kind of race by race, session by session, and just work on yourself. But I think if we can improve on every small detail from last year, there's no reason why we can't be fighting for podiums and race wins quite regularly.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll move on to Jean-Eric Verne. Jean-Eric, you've also been quite successful here. You've been on the podium multiple times. The unpredictability of Formula E is maybe at its highest ever. What do you need to do as a driver to perfect this weekend around this track?
Well, I think as always, you're going to need a good qualifying, and you know, as they mentioned, when you're in the front, you're able to control the race in a better way. Understanding that also being at that high altitude, the effect of the slipstream is going to be a little bit less. So, you know, the following effect, and with the cars getting a lot more energy than the leaders, may not be so true here. I mean, it's still true, but less than any other tracks. And then you need a bit of luck. You know, as I mentioned before, and I think Nick touched base on it. The new attack mode is great. You know, you can clearly overtake. So, you know, from the fan perspective, it's great because a lot more overtaking are happening, a lot more action on track. But for us, the teams and drivers, we feel that there is too much luck involved now with this new attack.
You've obviously driven every generation of Formula E car, and we've seen a lot about the Gen 3 Evo car, but until it was in a race for the first time, you don't know the full capabilities of it. What did you make? Were you surprised by anything in a race situation about the car after testing?
Which subject?
The Gen 3 Evo car, when you raced for the first time in Sao Paulo last time out, was there anything that surprised you that you maybe weren't expecting in a race situation?
I mean, nothing that we did not expect. The only, you know, the biggest change, I mean, you have a bit of aero downforce, aero package. It doesn't change much the driving, neither the race. We got new tires with a little bit more grip. Obviously, in Sao Paulo, we were expecting more degradation, which didn't come. I think it was the nature of that track. Here, it might be different, so we might have more degradation than in Sao Paulo, and a lot more than what we used to see last year. And then, of course, the biggest change is this attack mode.
You obviously have a new teammate this year, Maximilian Günther. How's your relationship been with him so far?
That's great.
Yeah. Anything you'd like to add about how you two get on?
I think, you know, is
common interests. What do you discuss while you're waiting for free practice one?
You know, car setup, strategies. Yeah.
All the usual things.
Yeah.
That's fine.
No,
Thank you very much.
Honestly, I mean, I didn't know him as a teammate, but I mean, you know, he's good. I mean, he's working well with the engineers. You know, very focused in what he does, and I mean, I've had, you know, teammates with whom I became very close friends. I don't know if that's going to be the case with Max, but you know, so far it all started well, and yeah, obviously as a driver you cannot be as lucky as having teammates with whom you become, you know, very close friends. I don't think it's the nature of motorsport, so I think in that regard I've been very lucky. So, you know, the only thing I expect from a teammate is, you know, hard working, that we push the team in the right direction, and especially now in Formula E, having a teammate on track is probably your, on paper it's your worst enemy, but I think on track and understanding the way Formula E is working in the races, I think the teammate should be your biggest help for the perspective of the team championship, and you know, like they've shown, you know, with Jaguar in Monaco, what they did is great. I mean, they did. I'm sure Nick really wanted to win that race, but he did it for the team, and I think that's what you expect as a teammate. I mean, one go it goes your way, one time it goes the other way around, and overall the team benefits. So, you know, that's what I'm expecting from a teammate. We only had one race, so too early to say, but so far so good.
Time will tell. Thank you very much, Jeff. Does anyone want to ask our drivers a question? We've got time for a few questions. Okay, over here.
Hi, Nick. This generation of Formula E is really fast. What can you tell us about the feeling of driving it, and especially in the attack mode?
I mean, I think the three of us share the same opinion. Yes, there's more grip. Yes, the performance of the car windows changed a little bit, and the attack mode is quite extreme. But you know, when we go back to the fact we're all racing drivers, we all have, you know, the same conditions and the same equipment. it kind of almost doesn't, in my opinion, matter on the lap times here or here. As long as we're all close and competitive, that creates the great racing. But it's certainly heading in the right direction.
Okay, anyone else? No, yeah, you can ask a second if you'd like. Yeah, sure.
Some drivers have said that the attack mode now is like Mario Bros. The Star, because it's like really risk. Is this true, or which is your feeling?
Ollie can answer that one, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
What was your question?
Some drivers. Hey. Some drivers said that the attack mode is like similar to the Mario Bros. Attack. Is this true, or is only like a joke?
Especially Oliver has some bananas, you know, that he's throwing.
Yeah, I mean.
Sometimes. Or the turtle, you know, the red turtle, he's got that.
I guess in some respects you're getting quite a lot of performance from it, but yeah, I've never heard it really related to that.
And I'm sorry, I have something to add actually about the attack mode. I thought some journalists will ask the question, but maybe some of them are asleep. I mean, when I mentioned about the randomness of the attack mode, I was expecting one of you guys to ask me, okay, so what should we do? So then I guess I have to say it. But, you know, what happened to me and some of the drivers, last year the attack mode was kind of useless thing to have, so you wanted to get rid of it as soon as possible. And it was the same for everybody. You were not getting a lot of time, you were not getting a lot of positions, it was very difficult to pass. Now it's a complete new game. You actually do gain a lot of time and a lot of position in attack. So now when you are in a situation where you activate your attack and something out of your control, like a car is crashing right after, or there is some elements on the track that requires a full course yellow or a safety car or a red flag. Let's say you're in your 6-minute attack zone and at 30 seconds after you have a full course yellow, you basically lose 5 minutes out of goodness of this attack mode, which is a massive, massive loss compared to anybody else that had a full attack mode. So if there was one change that should be done is that, let's say you are in your first minute and then you have a full course yellow for the 5 minutes remaining of your attack, then I think it would be fair that the driver that got penalized by that could have the possibility of still use the remaining attack that was not used during full course yellow.
Okay, thank you very much for clarifying. Just very quickly to any of you three, the turn one is different. Thoughts on that change that we've got this year?
Yeah, a little bit slower, probably a bit less exciting to drive in qualifying, and could lead to a bit of a mess in the race, maybe if there's a bit of packing up there. It's hard to say before we get on track, but I wouldn't say there's too much coming from it that's making me think it's going to be better, let's say.
Okay, another reason to qualify well, though.
Yeah, I don't think it'll change overtaking too much. I think you should still, with four-wheel drive, be able to get alongside before turn one. The problem is if it starts to, like, we see with the racing gets messy when there's a bit of, when the corners are slow and a bit of packing up. And it could be the case where it's quite narrow on the exit, that if you end up with a few cars kind of trying to funnel into the middle of the corner, it could get a bit messy.
Okay, thank you very much, everybody. The driver's pen will be available outside straight after. Thank you.
Hello everybody, welcome to 2025, a whole new motorsport year ahead of us. It's absolutely fantastic to be back with you here on both JB Motorsports and Formula E Zone. We are going to be partnering up with the Formula E Zone shows throughout the season to bring you more watch-along coverage. So I hope you enjoy it if you're new here, and if you're returning to us, what a race we had in Sao Paulo as well. Alongside me in the commentary box is Ed Hunter and Jess Ball. And it's going to be a bit weird this weekend. I'll explain it on the off. Me and Jess are going to be at Autosport. Jess is already there, so she's in a hotel room. I will join her tomorrow in the hotel room for the E-Prix. Free practice 2 and qualifying commentary will come from Ed Hunter and Megan Birch. So we're all set to go, and the TV pictures have just come on, and that means we'll have to turn that off for a second and get that sorted. But green light is on. We're underway now for the first session. Ed, Sao Paulo last month, I think, gave us a fantastic season opener, and now the ball is really in Mexico's court, because this track hasn't provided great racing over the last couple of seasons.
Yeah, usually the problem is that Porsche just tend to dominate here. but of course we did have the beginning of Season 9 and Season 10, a pretty weak attack mode here, where the drivers would just be spinning their wheels and it wouldn't be giving all that much traction. So, of course, they've got the four-wheel drive coming in for this season. We saw how effective it was at Sao Paulo, and we expect it to be a very similar picture here at Mexico City, of course, at Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez, which, of course, maintains pretty much the same layout that we saw the previous season, of course. It's stayed the same for a couple of years now. But it should be interesting. There's a whole lot of things to talk about, a lot of rumors floating around about the event that's being used to sort of fill the gap. There's like a 2-month gap in the calendar, and on the Formula E Zone show, just to plug the other thing that I'm part of that we're simulcasting this weekend, Jeff Dodds and Alberto Longa, they both mentioned that there was going to be something planned for that they thought, oh, you're going to love this. From what I'm hearing so far, I don't love it. Yeah, well, it's not broadcast anywhere, so apart from like a couple of influencers that are taking part in it. But for those not in the know, the rumor, and it comes from FE Notebook and Sam Smith himself, is that they're going to, in Miami, invite a bunch of media influencers around and to do some time trials in the actual Formula E cars, which if I was a team owner, I'd not be particularly keen to hand over my car to someone who has no Formula E experience. But that's going to be just filmed and then shown as a VT later on. They're not even going to allow fans on site, and I guess the people taking part will also try and film stuff. Hopefully not from the actual cockpit, but from their social media managers or whatever. But yeah, to me, it's incredibly underwhelming and disappointing compared to the way they were hyping it up. It's like, don't worry, we got something that Formula E fans are going to love. And it's just like, well, why? Why would I love it when it's people who don't care about Formula E being put into the cockpit? I mean, good for them if indeed that it is happening, because of course it is possible that Sam Smith has maybe got the wrong end of the stick and it's not as dire as I make it sound. But from what I've been hearing so far, I'm not impressed. But anyway, that's got very little to do with Mexico itself, which I'm sure will be fantastic.
Mexico is always an interesting one. Scott Elkins back with us.
All-wheel drive to help you out. You see these are the top 8 drivers in the championship. Here's Scott Elkins.
Well, as Tom Brooks said, Full Course Yellow has come out to test the system. Of course, drivers will now be reduced in pace, and we'll get a couple of moments of this while the FIA test their systems, and then we're all good to go. Drivers have actually been saying, can we test this system in shakedown rather than doing it in free practice 1? But shakedown earlier on did happen, but it wasn't televised, so unfortunately we can't bring it out this week as well. Nico Muller's done the first time of the 2025 year, but the second of this session, so it's a 149.912. Dan Tickton, 151.541. Jess Ball joining us from Birmingham in the NEC area, ready for Autosport. Evening, Jess, and I'll be with you tomorrow for the E-Prix, but I think it's great that we've got the team together at least for one session other than the race.
Course Yellow ending in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Green flag, green flag.
And that was Scott Elkins returning us. Anyway, hello, Jess. How are you?
And Dennis Radio.
Sense on my dash. I just had to free ball that massively.
Free ball, so that means releasing the brake going through. Go on, Jess.
I swear Formula E doesn't want me to speak at the moment. Yeah, the last few days have been good. I'm so excited to join you tomorrow. First time meeting you in person, and we get to commentate in person, which is going to be great. But obviously the Sao Paulo E-Prix was really, really good with Mitch Evans going from last to first. That was fantastic. And Taylor Barnard getting his first podium. That was just amazing. So, and the attack mode worked a lot better than we thought. So more of the same, please, Mexico.
Absolutely, more of the same. And we've got some comments coming in as well. First of all, on the FEZ channel, Natalie says, hello, people. Hello, Jack Germana. For that schoolboy from Nissan, how did they not tell Roland about? Seems crazy. I love that Jeff calling out the journos as well. If you saw the press conference earlier on, as you see Oliver Roland as well, they were mainly also, one of the questions, Ed, that was asked was, is it similar, the four-wheel drive in attack mode, similar to what you get in Mario Kart Boost? So when you can press the squirty button mode. And all the drivers,
Wow.
It was like, what?
They bring out the big brains for these press conferences, aren't they, Josh?
They really do, and it really annoyed me because I sent in a couple of questions, never got answered, never did, and not one journalist.
What did you expect?
I know, but not one journalist who was in the actual conference room wanted to ask a question to any of the team principals that were there. So, and I was tearing my hair out as well, coming in. But, so yes, good evening to everyone on FE.
At least we could hear it. At least we could hear it this time.
Yeah, that's true.
Exactly. Yeah, we heard it.
Sao Paulo, somebody bumped the cable out, and we never found out who, of course. It's probably better for their safety that we don't know. But anyway, because...
And if you missed it on the stream just now, you can check out the whole conference on Formula E Zone. Cheeky plug.
I love that we can plug
them
all.
Doing my job for me.
Dimas
it's a good thing neither of us is getting paid to do
it. Neither am I, actually. Dimas says, good morning, JB from Indonesia. Good morning, everybody over there. Happy New Year, 2025. Happy New Year, everybody, if you're watching us. Well, come on. It's back in business, says Jack the Little Owl. Yeah, we are back. Dimas saying, the first live streaming of the channel of the year, and they're using golden mushrooms. That's it, as Jack said. Yeah, they're just breaking their golden mushrooms as well coming through. And I personally would love to see who's going to be the rocket, but I think Pascal Wehrlein got the red mushroom last time out. I got thrown at him as well. So that's going to be a lot of great fun as we take a look at James Barkley in the back of the Jaguar garage, just watching on, making sure he's doing A-OK. They've redone the Jaguar garage this weekend in terms of where we usually see him hiding behind the monitors. So they've now been pushed right to the back of the garage and a couple of things. Cooper Cairo, or Kiro, however we're calling that one, has got a new livery this weekend. So it's no longer the bright yellow, similar to the Lola Yamaha Apt. It's more got of a golden black triangle X sort of design on it that's catching a couple of eyes, and a reprofiled turn 3, which, as you heard at the press conference, Oliver Rowland saying that it's going to cause a bit of drama in the race and it's going to be harder for qualifying. And they have sort of had to redo it because we kept seeing incidents over the last couple of years on this new turn 3 Ed. So now they've just made it all a bit safer. They've tightened up the circuit, and hopefully with our new generation of cars, I want more overtakes. Is that possible?
Yeah, you would always see in turn 3, whenever you went offline, it was basically brutal. That was the other issue with the circuit, that the tyres would sort of break up and you get loads of marbles offline, which is surprisingly uncommon in Formula E. Speaking of the Cooper Kiro, I'm in the process of getting all brown. I'm running out of tan and brown at the moment, but I'm hoping I can get something that looks half decent. I did notice, actually, they recolored the bottom of the front wing because they've sort of swapped the colours because the bridge at the top was yellow, mostly yellow, and the bottom was black, and they've swapped it around, so it's yellow at the bottom, black at the top. So they're a bit of a nightmare for me because I put them in I use different pieces, right? So it's not a case of just swapping them around. I've got to actually find different pieces entirely, which is a bit of a logistical nightmare. But anyway, I actually think the old one looked better. But
yeah, I agree.
I'm sure as long as they're faster, they won't mind. So I think there's money coming into the team from Cupra, and I guess Cupra wanted someone to sponsor since Apt tied up with Lola and Yamaha. So it sort of works out for all parties. We get a slightly weird Frankenstein-looking livery, which is just a legacy of the fact that the deal came together so late, I guess. But you know, it could be good for Cupra in the long run, more Cupra involvement, because you never know, it might be they might go back from being a sort of Porsche customer using a year-old powertrain, essentially, which isn't that far behind, it seems, at least not at the moment in this season. We'll see as the season goes on whether Cupra start to slip down the grid or whether they've got some good people on the software side that can keep them in play. But yeah, certainly after they scored a couple of points with Tictum in Sao Paulo, I think they said in their New Year's resolutions, things we want to avoid, it's like footage of our drivers going for toilet breaks during red flag, because apparently that was something that was doing the round when Tictum sort of yeah, you got no privacy in Formula E these days. Used to be that nobody cared what you did during a red flag. Now you've got loads of cameras following you everywhere you go, so I guess maybe that's a sign of the attempt at increasing the coverage, as we see a giant Cupra flag all over the bridge just over the Nigel Mansell. No, it's the Peraltada. It's just the Peraltada, isn't it? It's not the shorter Nigel Mansell corner, even though it's in the same location.
Yeah,
that sort of shows why they've changed the livery, I guess. We made a joke because there was a big embargo on that livery. We were making a joke in the Formula E Zone Discord chat that oh, it doesn't matter that it's been leaked, they'll change it for the next race anyway, because they seem to change it they've gone from changing their identity every year to changing it every race now.
I'm looking forward to what we're seeing next time out in
Is that
Jeddah.
Degrassi?
Yeah, running wide of one, catching
Degrassi on the
exit.
grass.
It's that the problem with turn one is it's that funnel effect, and you've got a yellow flag at turn one now actually, and we've got the 51 down there who has come to a little bit of a halt, and the green flags come back out. So I think he's gone down the escape road and continued. Green flags are back out as we take a look at Robin Fried, yet to complete a racing lap this season. Failed to start at Sao Paulo with stalling on the line, becoming only the second driver in Formula E history to stall at the line. The first being Stefan Sarazan in the Putrajaya E-Prix in Malaysia all those years ago. But the second actually in start succession. Zane Maloney had a pole on the grid in the simulation race all the way back in... Where were we? Harama, yeah. I was going to say Jakarta.
Madrid.
Yeah, Madrid, that was it. In pre-season testing.
We are going back to Jakarta.
Let's say, Josh, we never raced at Jakarta.
No, we're going back there again soon, aren't we? That's going to be fun with the calendar coming up, as we'll ride on board with said Zane Maloney. They are listening to me, clearly, the TV directors in the gallery. Yeah, Jess, just swinging back. You were with us, of course, in Sao Paulo, and are going to be with us quite a lot this year. You were leaving me in the commentary box at some of the races as well. I think Berlin. But what's been your take on the season opener, the new generation of cars as well? Because we haven't heard from you much since Sao Paulo across the JB Motorsports coverage. After we hear from the team principal down with... yeah, sorry.
Team. There's a lot of questions about what happened to Jake's car during the race. Can you talk us through it? How much can you tell us?
Yeah, we had a technical failure on the car. It's under investigation with Porsche. We don't 100% know exactly what happened or why it happened. So it's a little premature for me to say as to the cause of it, but obviously we showed good pace, and it was a little frustrating for all of us to have that happen. I think we were on for a good point-scoring finish, but, you know, we'll have to move on to this round and see what we can do here.
What's been the process over the winter break? What have you guys been up to try and improve things after what happened out in Brazil?
I mean, honestly, I think we came away from Brazil very encouraged by our performance. No points on the board, which obviously is not great, but we showed certainly on Jake's side of the garage, we never were outside of the top three. You know, we missed out on a front row start by thousandths of a second. We were fastest overall in P2. We were fastest in the group session. So from a performance perspective, I think collectively we were very satisfied, and also operationally the team executed really well. It was just, you know, Nico got hit from behind by another car. That put him out. So, yeah, I mean, circumstances really outside of our control meant that Brazil didn't, you know, the end result from Brazil wasn't what we really deserved. So, you know, we don't let that get us down amidst the fighting spirit of this team. I mean, we've shown that plenty of times in the past. So, yeah, I mean, I'm happy with the way things went operationally and engineering-wise in Brazil, and hopefully all the work that we continue to do translates into a good performance here in Mexico.
Thank you so much, Roger. Back to you, Tom.
Alexa there talking us through with Roger Griffiths, the team principal down there at Andretti. Jess, please continue your point.
I forgot what generally about the Gen 3 Evo cars you were going to ask.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
And Sao Paulo, I think. Just your general thoughts.
General thoughts. I like the all-wheel drive in attack mode, which I think is the first for any car in general. That was really, really nice. It made the qualifying duels even more exciting. I think there were a few duels that were very, very close, in particular in towards the semi-finals. Again, you're missing qualifying, Josh.
Yeah,
so I'm guessing we're probably going to have a closer qualifying because you're not in the box. But yeah, that I think qualifying was more exciting with the duels, especially as well, and it made the rivalries a little bit more intense. Attack mode requires more strategy now. It's not like, we could just take it at the start just to get rid of it. They want to take it at the best possible moment now, because attack mode is actually more critical for their race. We see many drivers gain so much just by using attack mode. And then we saw some drivers in Sao Paulo, they lost time because they took attack mode, and bang, there was a safety car, and they couldn't use it elsewhere because they ran out of attack mode and they lost time, which wasn't ideal, really. There was quite a few people that I think overused their energy a little bit, so they got a drive through. I'll say that to Taylor Barnard, he still got a podium, but you know. But yeah, generally, all in all, it's good. I'm a bit worried for London and Monaco because we know Monaco's going to be 2 seconds a lap faster. Hopefully there's no crashes in the wall because of that, but we'll see. It is a double header this year, which I'm really excited about because Monaco never disappoints in Formula E.
Nah, it's one of the best races of the season, which is weird to say across here. But Ed, picking up as we take a look at Florian modelling there, Jev was bringing it up in the press conference. He said that he wants to ask the FIA if there's a chance that drivers who have attack mode during either a safety car or a red flag situation will be able to use that attack mode with however long was left when that either safety car, full course yellow or red flag was launched, so that they don't lose that time as a disadvantage. Do you think it's a good idea that we're sort of going to go, okay, you've got unlucky here, we'll hold, and then you can use it during green flag running? Or do we stick with the tried and tested decision that, well, bygones be bygones, it was your fault?
I don't know. Well, I don't think anyone can predict a safety car or a red flag unless your name's Flavio Briatore. But in which case, you probably engineered it. But anyway, it's an interesting one. From a driver's perspective, I can understand Jeb's frustration there, but also, I think you've got to look at the point of view that it is sort of part of the game. You can get unlucky, you go for your attack mode right at the wrong moment where just before a safety car ends up being called, and then you sort of don't get to take the advantage of having gone into it, as we see a replay of Tictum on board the brown Cupra. It looks just all brown from the cockpit. He's having a huge moment into the 5-6 chicane there, but he just about gets it stopped in time there. So yeah, the front just really locked. It was like very recalcitrant as he was trying to turn in at the beginning of that chicane there. But
that curve's always quite tight, it seems, for the drivers. I think a few drivers seem to be struggling there this weekend.
It
looks surprisingly similar to the chicane they have at Sao Paulo as well. That's also down the back straight. Where we saw lots of like 2 and 3 wide moments as well in Sao Paulo.
Franz is off at turn 1, and he's got going again. Green flag, so he's just locked up.
Yeah, so in terms of answering the question, but before anything else happens, because that seems to be the way even in practice sessions, he's just going to get the point out quickly. I sort of feel that if we get to the stage where it sort of takes a lot of the risk out of attack mode, if there's no chance of, even if I go into it and there's a safety car, it gets paused and I get to use it afterwards. I'm not sure quite how you enforce that either, sort of on a practical level. Because once you've used it, the timer's gonna count down, and it's not like you just get extra ones put in afterwards. It seems a little. I can appreciate the sentiment, but it seems awkward in sort of execution, and I could easily see some teams trying to exploit it as well. Because we had a situation before, didn't we, where everyone wanted to get attack mode out of the way as soon as possible, and it was sort of as we see Franz going straight on, and predictably he just
that was the yellow flag. That's what caused the yellow flag.
Not quite able to do spin turn, but deciding to keep the rear tyres in decent shape because it's only FP1, so quite sensible for Robin there, rather than trying to thread it back around. I don't quite agree with Jeb, but I think it's an interesting point. Maybe there's more of a compromise to be had there.
Yeah, Franz locking up on the braking zone down to turn 1 there, and little flat spot on the front right, similar to what we saw at Tictum a few moments ago. And Ed's right, you're going to get 2 sets of tyres across a weekend, and you try and save your second set for qualifying and the E-Prix. So you get 1 set for the 2 practice sessions, and then 1 set for qualifying and the race. It's not unusual to see teams take these first set of tyres as late as they can in the group stages of the qualifying to do their first runs on the dirty tyres, and then their second set you'll switch over and hope to get through to the duels. But for teams at the back of the field who know they're not going to get through, they tend to just stick with the 1 set so they can have a better race by having a brand new set for the what is going to be this weekend, I believe, 37 laps. for the race on Sunday. I'm just getting up my document here. 36 laps. They've reduced it by 1. It's 94.68 kilometres as well coming into it with the race this weekend. To give you those details, the energy you can use, 38.5 kilowatts of power. Regen is set at 0.93 kilowatts, so for every break into a corner you can regen that much of power. And it's going to be attack mode, as we were talking about earlier. 2 activations, 5 arms max. You can do a 2 to 6, a 4 and a 4, and a 6 and a 2.
Rain!
Is that rain? That's in the forest.
I think this is the wet camera.
Oh, there's a rainbow.
Oh, it's not the camera right next to the toilet, is it?
Oh, drivers are reporting.
Drivers are reporting rain, according to the virtual race engineer.
Well, this is what you get when you're 2,200 metres above sea level, is the unpredictability of the weather. And a rain cloud has blown in over the back of the circuit at the exit of the Forest-Sol Peraltada into turn 1 on the oval section. And there is just dampness of rain out there. Shouldn't affect us too much because we've got all-weather tyres. So, yeah, just spots of rain. And it is raining at turn 3 in that new reprofiled section.
That's really good, I think, for the new Gen 3 Evo cars, that it can handle any weather conditions. It requires a little bit more grip. I think that's one of the highlights, I would say. I think it's 5 to 10% more grip it provides as well, which is good, which means it's more sustainable, and which is what we want in motorsport at the end of the day. We don't want to just use all the tyres if we don't have to.
Both of you were at London when it threw it down with rain a couple of seasons ago, and we had 2 red flags because the cars were practically
I
boxed.
was there.
Yeah. I think Jess was there.
Yeah, Ed
Saturday.
was there.
Were you there on the Saturday, Jess? You got away with it.
I was there on the Saturday, yeah.
Ed,
Last
you were
year.
there, and you remember the red flags and all that drama. But, yeah.
Yeah, but that was, of course, season 9. That was the first season.
There was no red flags where Anne was there.
Yes, in season 10. Hopefully as well.
Yeah, oh, yeah, no, you're right.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, okay, so... I'm just trying to remember what happened. Yeah, so but I think Hankook had done a good job of course, we know Gen 4, I think Bridgestone are coming in
Van
with
Dorn?
their tyres, so that could should be
Yeah, Miller is just going so slow.
That's the Mahindra in front of him. Is it Roland or?
That's Muller. There's Muller. He said Muller is going
Muller.
slow in front of me.
Right. Yeah, it is Nico Muller.
Stoffer's got better eyesight than you do.
40-inch television.
I think this is obviously the first type of running in wet conditions in these cars ever.
Yeah, we were bone dry in Harama, and we didn't have any rain in Sao Paulo. We were supposed to have rain. It was a worry that the race might not even go ahead in race 1, but we got it going. And here's Cassidy's radio.
Yeah, just got the info mid-lap.
Can we not see this coming?
All I got was, it's raining, can you not see the sky? That's all I got. Oh, it is actually properly raining now. It's starting to come down. I can see it on the
Yeah, look
camera.
at that.
Oh.
Well,
I thought he said, how did we not...
never see this coming.
I thought he said, how did we not see this coming? It's interesting on the weather radar.
Well, we didn't see it either. Muller's lap time's been deleted for track limits at the Forest-Sol section in turn 9. So that's the 9, 10, 11 chicane just before Forest-Sol. So, yeah, it is raining with 15 minutes to go of this session. So, I'm having a look. Oh, Cassidy's slide. He's actually losing grip coming through the Forest-Sol. That last corner, the Casino Track Match, turn 19. He's sliding it out of it. And down towards turn 1, he's backed out of the lap time. It's got very heavy down into the first corner with dark clouds hanging above the circuit there. Right, let's head down to the pit lane. And as we see the Lola go off the circuit, let's head down to Alexa.
The Lola team, currently sitting 20th and 22nd in this session. Alexa, what's the situation down at Lola? I understand they brought some new software upgrades into this race.
Yeah, thanks so much, Tom. I'll let Mark explain that to you. Mark, we're just hearing from Tom that you possibly have some new software upgrades this race after your first race last time out. How are things going? How are you finding your feet in Formula E?
It's been going pretty well. We had quite a lot of trouble at the first race. I suppose to be expected in some ways. First race for Lola Yamaha, but huge amount of updates for this race, and fingers crossed that it's going pretty well at the moment.
And I've got to ask you about your new rookie, Zane Maloney. How's he settling in? How's he finding the incredibly intricate world of Formula E?
I think most of the team were a bit worried when I said we're having a rookie, but when he turned up, they were like, you said we're having a rookie. It's like, he doesn't seem like a rookie. So, yeah, he's pretty relaxed and he's really enjoying it.
And putting your weatherman hat on, not your team principal hat, we're hearing reports of rain out on track, possibly even more rain tomorrow. How does that feel for the team, and are you expecting rain?
I wasn't expecting rain, actually, and yeah, it was a bit of a surprise just now. I'd probably rather it wouldn't, but so we can get our feet on the ground and, you know, get things going for the second race, but it'll be okay, we'll be fine.
Thank you so much, Mark. Best of luck for the weekend. Back to you, Tom.
I've played with him. I'm sorry. I've just sent him a text message saying, bit different from a few seasons ago, commentating Mexico with a photo attached to Mark. I've just sent him a text. I couldn't resist.
Shut up, Mark.
Friend of the channel.
I did find it funny when Alexis said, "Oh, how are you finding your feet?" As if he'd never done Formula E before. It's like, yeah, I've won 2 championships as a team principal. I think I know what I'm doing. And in fact, software was always a big strength of Techeetah and of Team Aguri as well, because I remember in the second season, they kept the same powertrain hardware, Team Aguri. They're one of the few teams that did, and they had a lot of software updates that kept them really competitive in like the first part of that season. So yeah, they get a lot out of the package they've got. Lola and Yamaha clearly throwing a lot behind that team. And as we've been talking, Degrassi actually went fastest on the timesheet. So clearly, certainly...
It's working.
Yeah, it's very reliable as well, I noticed that. Despite, we talked about Maloney having that issue at Harama, but clearly they addressed it, whereas Jaguar having that issue with Evans in qualifying. Of course, yeah, brilliant. Last to first was a fantastic story, but it's going to be harder to do that at Mexico, I think, on this particular circuit compared to Sao Paulo. So, there's a bit of reliability worries for Jaguar, and we had Freins in the customer Jag as well in the Envision, also not get off the line at all in the race. He hasn't done a racing lap at all so far this season, and Mexico is a bit of a bogey track for him too. So I think Robin is a little bit up against it, but yeah, I think Lola's a completely new powertrain, completely new team essentially in terms of manufacturer and supplier. They have impressed me so far through the job that they've done, but of course we still yet to see big performance from that package.
Yeah, I felt better on the systems then, going slightly further forward. I feel a little bit stuck now. I've got a bit of everything going on, so happy to just look at the data properly and see what you think.
Jay Dennis there, just saying he's happy to look through the data. He knows what he's got as we take a look at the 22 of Zane Maloney. As nearly running into the back of, I think, of Stoffel Van Dorn, coming outside the Forest-Sol Peraltada section. A little bit of dampness there. So rain expected tomorrow. That's going to be entertaining. Come practice 2 qualifying and the E-Prix. You can join us live on JBMotorsports and Formula E Zone for all of the watch-along action. As Maloney 17th, 2.1 seconds off the pace of Lucas Degrassi's teammate, who is top of the board, 1:11.417. Now, Ed, quickly, you mentioned it's going to be hard to do a last to first at this circuit. The driver who has done a last to first at this circuit, Lucas Degrassi, all those years ago, did from the back of the grid.
Well, he qualified. He didn't quite qualify last, but he did lose his rear wing and had to make an early stop, and then that put him massively out of sequence of everyone else, and I think there was a safety car that sort of saved him in that one, and so he was able to, while everyone else was pitting, he was able to sort of stay out right at the end and conserve energy enough. I think he was helped by D'Ambrosio holding everyone up behind him on that day. But yeah, it was certainly one of Degrassi's more unlikelier wins, particularly given how horribly that race started for him. And how he basically just about avoided going a lap down when they put that new rear wing on. It's kind of lucky for him, if everyone now, that the rear wings are not quite as vital a part of the car, and also they're a little bit less fragile, on the whole. So you can sort of keep going if you lose bits of your rear wing, because you just lose the glowy bit that shows whether you're in attack mode or not, essentially.
Maloney's going wide there. It's 5:30 over there in Mexico City, and you can see little bits of wetness on the AstroTurf that's been sort of glued over, getting into the lines that Formula One use around this circuit. Yeah, Degrassi has a bit of a love-hate relationship with this place. One got disqualified, one again, then another driver got disqualified, and he won again. That one off the track goes one of the Nissan straight off at turn 1.
NATO.
Yeah, Norman NATO, and that was a simple run off, and it's still a bit dark out there at the moment as they come into it.
That was lucky.
Yeah, not to hit that barrier.
Yeah, luckily Norman got out of that quite early though, so disaster averted.
Jess, if it's wet in race tomorrow, will they have to start behind the safety car? Because that turn 1 is very much, it's like a funnel effect. You're going to have people going into the barrier left, right and centre.
It's like a dead zone. It's like a dead zone. They will have to brake early as well, and with it being maybe treacherous, then it shouldn't really go under green flag anyway. You should just start under safety car personally, but we'll see what the drivers can do. If it does rain in free practice too, that would be ideal because they can have a little bit more of a read the conditions, because in FP1 they didn't think it was going to rain, and they are just going to have to do with their gut feeling and just have a little bit of an experiment. But we're seeing the number 37 coming out. Let's have a look at Nato and how he lost it in turn 1.
Offline massively, and as soon as he hits the
Lock
brakes,
up.
yeah, straight on.
Yeah, just didn't quite have the confidence that it would slow down enough and also not hit the barrier by the time you reached it. But yeah, it's certainly interesting to see everyone reacting to that little bit of rain that just seems to put them off. It's also sort of hurting some of the lap times as well. So everyone at this point is really just trying to get some data that they can use come FP2 and qualifying in the race tomorrow, essentially. So this is all suddenly not about going for the glory times. It could well be that Grassi ends this one on top if the track doesn't really improve in these final 8 minutes or so.
Qualifying tomorrow is going to be quite critical, the group qualies, which I'll read them out to you now, actually, while we've got them on our screens. Group A, Mitch Evans, Taylor Barnard, Eduardo Mortara, Sebastian Buemi, Pascal Verline, Stoffel Van Dorn, Zane Maloney, Oliver Rowland, David Beckman, Lucas de Grassi and Nico Muller. Group B, Antonio Felix da Costa, Sam Bird, Nick de Vries, Dan Ticktum, Jean-Eric Verne, Maximilian Gunther, Norman Nater, Nick Cassidy, Jake Dennis, Jake Hughes and Robin Frine. So big hitters in both groups after only the first weekend of the year.
Oh, I love this camera, by the way, that they're showing just from the underneath of Da Costa's car, where you can see the rear wing and both tyres and sort of just him closing on people ahead of him. It's such a low, weird angle. I think it's at the bottom of the floor, I think. Oh, it's Buemi very nearly decks it into the wall out of the Peraltada there. He just had a massive tank slapper that he was able to save. And I think he might have just avoided brushing the wall, but it got a couple of inches closer for comfort than I think he really wanted there.
Very similar to what happened a couple of years ago. It had to be Bottas land that. I think he scraped
And that's
it.
a dirty part of the track as well. And Bottas, it was a much slower corner, of course, coming F1 because you come out at less speed from the stadium.
I think he did hit it, Ed. Here it is. Oh, I think he just avoided it.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
You see, there's that little curb on the outside. It's clearly dusty because it's so far out that it doesn't really get used all that often. You can tell the minute the left rear tyre hit it, he was really struggling to just fight for control there.
And for those of you that missed that, he was like, oh.
Swear words on
There's something in French, it sounded like.
Yeah.
Evans is on a full power lap time here as well. He's gone the magenta. Let's see what he's going to have on the timing screens. It's green sectors 1 and 2. Sector 3 is a bit more open, and he's gone fastest by 2/10. It's a 1:12. So it's a 1:11.2. Verline has come in behind him and has done a 1:11.172. So Verline now top of the board after this time flying straight, not flying sideways into the barrier. Well, I've been bringing that up a lot, probably, because that was our big moment from race 1.
Yeah, definitely.
It's great to see that he's okay, because we were really worried about him, and rightly so, because it was a pretty terrifying accident for all concerned. And it was great watching back the team radio video, how pretty much every driver was incredibly concerned about Pascal's well-being and calling for the red flag instantly. Where there was nobody thinking, right, that's another position for me. Or if they were, they were polite enough to keep it to themselves. So.
Yeah, everybody understood that was a biggie. And I thought very well handled as well by the marshals and the doctors. They got him out perfectly well. They made
Yeah,
sure
well
it was
done to the
okay.
medical people for helping Pascal Wehrlein recover as well, because otherwise he wouldn't be able to race today.
Yeah, a slight
tomorrow.
concussion, wasn't it? He had a slight concussion, but it was lucky that we had more than 21 days for the next race. December the 8th
Yeah.
was the race, and now it is January the 10th and 11th, so way beyond that 21-day concussion protocol rule.
Oh, Da Costa goes top.
Yeah, so Porsche 110 to 110.855, and Wehrlein is registering as a stop on my timing screen. He's now restarted, so transponder must have just glitched somewhere across the line to come across of it as well. Adam says, hello Adam, how cold is it in the UK? I've got a few inches of snow here in North Carolina right now. It's -1 where I am.
Freezing.
Jess, I know, is in Birmingham. I looked because it must be nearly -5. Rear left tyre experiences high loads, as the virtual race engineer. Ed, what about you?
It was -5, -6 this morning when I left my hotel.
Yeah, at the moment it's -4. It's going to go to -5 overnight.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's pretty nippy out there. I had to walk back from a local pub where we were doing our Beaver Scout planning meeting. It was pretty freezing.
But luckily, Autosport to the hotel is not that far at all, so I didn't need to take my coat. It's literally just a walk across and then I'm there.
I am going to have to bring a coat, which is really annoying me, but I'm going to wear a nice stylish one. Here's Evans.
Get a bit of start.
Oh, yeah.
The change, I think, helps, but the front left starts to struggle with touch with 5 people in the last corner.
Yeah, that's what the virtual race engineer
I
told
need to
us.
bring mine tomorrow. I haven't brought mine the last few days. I have to bring mine tomorrow.
Yeah, coats, it's going to be cold and a bit warm. How is the actual Autosport? Is it warm in there or is it a bit cold?
Yeah, it apart from the performance, the live action arena is cold.
Right.
But apart from that, it's really warm.
Basic coat then. We'll be inside most of the time, and it's going to be really fun actually as Cassidy comes across the line to go 10th fastest. You can watch all that on JBMotorsports. We'll have all the action from Autosport. 2 live shows across the weekend at 2 o'clock GMT on the Saturday and the Sunday, and then we'll also be bringing you the stage shows, driver interviews, team interviews, pundits interviews, and also we'll bring you the live arena show. We'll record it and upload it as well, so you get to see it all from Autosport International. It's going to be a fun weekend, actually.
And British Touring Car interviews.
Yes, Jess has got that sorted as well. I'm going to hang out with my BTCC guys, and can't wait, actually. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Ingram was so funny. It was great to watch. I love them.
Last time I saw Tingram, I
Looks
had
like Tictum.
tooth problem. Go on.
Tictum Ingram. It rhymes.
No, well, almost. It's similar first part of the word, yeah, but Tictum's on a full power lap. You can see the purple lights on the back, or the front of that rear winglet. So he is really pushing in that season-old powertrain, of course. But, of course, it still benefits from all that development the Porsche did in season 10. So, yeah, Kira, as we see Dan Tictum just have a four-wheel drift. You can see the full power lap there. I think they don't get to use attack mode in practice, but that was a full commitment out of the Peraltada there, as you see. Yeah, so Cassidy.
Did he just graze the wall?
I think so.
I can do nothing, Sector 2. I'm at my car.
I barely hear the radios, or is it just me?
It's Cassidy's radio. His mic slipped, I think. Honestly, I think for Cassidy, we need a mine to understand what's going on out there. That would be better.
I think Nick was saying something about his car not handling how he expected it to. He said there was something awkward with my car, because he set the 11th fastest lap. He was about half a second behind his teammate. So on the full power.
That's a bit off compared to his teammate. Yeah.
Let's head down to Alexa with Alexa.
In Sao Paulo. Historically, you guys are very good in the wet. A little bit of rain going on at the moment. How are you feeling about chances tomorrow?
Oh la la, far from being to tomorrow right now. Just on today, trying to understand the track and the way the car is behaving here. It's a new car for us, so every track we go is new for us. So we need to make sure that we understand well, but it looks okay. And tomorrow, whatever conditions are, we need to be fast, that's all.
Fast you will be. Thank you so much, Fred.
Thank you.
So, into the last 30 seconds.
I love that reaction from Fred Bertrand. It's like,
Me too.
there's another day? Oh la la. I thought it was just one day.
Well, that was the plan, wasn't it? The big USP of Formula E was, it's all in one day. Surprise, it's now over 2 days, and it's sometimes over 3. It's just expanded to a whole proper weekend now. Across the line, NATO on a full power lap, jumps up to 6th on...
Josh is right, you know.
Yeah. Go on.
Josh is right, you know, because there's quite a lot of double headers this year. There's not many races that are just one race. Mexico is one of the few that is just having one round.
Yeah, double header next time out in Jeddah.
And Sao Paulo.
Jeddah onwards, it's back-to-back double headers, isn't it?
Yeah, and of course, big in Jeddah, we're going to have attack charge, or whatever they call it now, come in, and we'll have that.
We were meant to have it in Misano,
I think
but that
it's
never
called
happened.
I think they're calling it pit boost now.
Pit
but
boost,
yeah, it's
right.
because attack charge sound a bit too similar to attack mode, so it may obviously. We've had a couple of seasons where we're just waiting for it to be introduced, and it was under that previous name. So we're sort of used to that, but now they've changed the paradigm on us, as they are wont to do in Formula E. So we're going to have to just get used to calling it pit boost, I'm afraid.
Yeah, pit boost as well. The PB, as Roland leaves some 11s at the exit of the peloton, does third fastest time to Costa's top at the moment. Evans stays in 5th place, 4 tenths down on his best time to Costa. Taylor Barnard finished 3rd in Sao Paulo, 3rd in the championship, 2nd fastest time there, 1:10.946. Fabulous stuff from him. Roland in there too, and this is Beckman in the Cooper Cairo, and this is him going for a little bit of a slide and nearly into the barrier. Oh, and he did touch the barrier!
Oh, in!
And that's not the thing you need to do.
Lucky
at
boy,
that
that could have been. That could have been a lot more serious, though. So let's see. He loses it mid-corner, tries to save it, and it gets bounced off the wall there. Luckily, it could have been a much worse hit, and he immediately goes back into the pit. So I think he was really worried about having damaged the car there. Let's see how much of a whack the rear suspension got there. Certainly the rear winglet took most of the impact, luckily. So I think not the end of the world for Beckman, and they've got a whole night to repair it, essentially.
I think the toe links broke as well, looking at that. The rear tyres definitely... Yeah, the rear tyre... Let's have a look. No puncture, but the rear tyre was
it looked like the tyre was falling off the rim a little bit there, yeah.
So toe links broke for Beckman, but that's the least thing that could happen. Yellow flag.
Beckman, that nice shiny livery they got you. Bronze livery that looks a bit like excrement. Now it does. It looks even worse when you buckle it in the wall.
It's the Jeremy Clarkson Mazda MX-5 colour. 3 lights, 4, 5.
Yeah, it looks a bit like excrement with bits of sweet corn in it.
That just starts.
Away he goes. Barnard into 1, 4 lights, 5 lights. Very much darkness hitting here.
Go!
So let's have a look then. This is a good angle at the start, actually. Let's have this angle for the start. I can see the lights. There we go. 5 lights. Drop the clutch. This is... Oh, a lot of wheel spin there for Dan Tigtum. Don't think he's fluffed that. Not happy at all. He gave that one up.
Yeah, he's messed that up.
To be fair, it's more about that initial getaway. And, of course, when they have to use the 4-wheel drive for the getaway as well. So it means you're more likely to get that wheel spin, aren't you? So they're obviously trying to lay down rubber as well for the actual start. They don't know which grid slots they're going to be, so they want to lay down as much rubber as possible on the way to the front of the grid.
It's actually more surprising that the Formula E grid slots are wider than the Formula 1 grid slots. That's because of the cars are slightly wider in places for having to see the lines.
And smaller.
Yeah, they're smaller in width, but in terms of the driver's eyes, they've got bigger side pods, so it's harder to see the lines.
Someone's had a massive wheel spin in the background.
Burning up the tyre rubber.
Yeah, the mist always seems to hang around at the start line in Mexico. You'll see it come race day. Just be really, like the back of the grid will just be a haze of like smoke and
you'll
somebody
be
setting
able
off
to
their
barely
flares.
see. Yeah.
I hate it because
luckily it hasn't led to any start line collisions. Luckily, but yeah.
So watch this on board with Nissan if you're watching it with Norman Nato. 4, 5. Literally just drop the clutch. Go, yeah, because there is still a clutch control at the back that you have to sort of hold in as well. So like it's the e-brake, isn't it? Because you got to foot down on the throttle, and when the lights go out, you drop the e-brake at the back hand of the steering wheel. Oof, off you go. So instead of the drivers having to release the foot off the brake, they release the clutch. Effectively, the virtual clutch off the back, and away you go, whoosh, straight. So, end of the first session.
Speaking of Nissan, have you guys seen that Nissan have launched an energy drink based around the Formula E team that's called Zur Energy? That has a very weird Mexican advert they've done. I think they should have. It feels a bit like Rich Energy, or should I say Rich as Energy?
Oh, God. He appeared on my timeline earlier. I still don't know how that happened. So, here's your results then from first practice for the Mexico City E-Prix. Antonio Felix da Costa is fastest on a 1:10.855. Taylor Barnard is second and Oliver Rowland is third. Pascal Wehrlein fourth. Mitch Evans is fifth, our championship leader. Lucas de Grassi sixth and Norman Nato seventh. Sebastian Buemi is eighth. Eduardo Mortara ninth and Stoffel Van Dorn rounds out your top 10. Nick de Vries is 11th and Dan Tickton in 12th. Nico Muller is 13th with Jake Dennis 14th. Nick Cassidy 15th with Sam Bird 16th. Jean-Eric Verne 17th. Jake Hughes 18th. Maximilian Gunther 19th. Robin Friends in 20th. And David Beckman 21st with Zane Maloney in 22nd position. And David Beckman, as I said, in 21st. I forgot to add him on that timing tab for a second to come back in. Okay, closing thoughts then. First of all, to you, Jess. What do you make of first practice and going into quali tomorrow?
I think the gaps are quite close between the top four. I think Wehrlein wants a shot for pole once again. We know how the Porsches do well as well. Mitch Evans, I kind of hope he can challenge for pole as well after his great performance in Sao Paulo. And is Taylor Barnard's podium a one podium wonder? I hope not, because he's shown some good pace in free practice one. So maybe he's learned a lot more about the new generation of cars and he can deliver.
Ed?
Yeah, well, obviously after that big crash in Sao Paulo, Pascal Wehrlein looking to fight back, but yeah, da Costa slightly faster than him in the end. So the Porsche factory team, as we expected, looking very, very strong indeed here in Mexico. The Andretti's and the customers didn't look too far behind either in practice, so that's certainly encouraging for them after they had a really horrible start to the season. But it doesn't look like they're particularly panicking either. So yeah, I think Porsche is definitely going to be in qualifying the ones to beat. But yeah, the efficiency of the Jaguar, we'll have to see if they can get on top of their pace issues and qualify a bit better than they did in Sao Paulo, because that could be much more important here than it was in that particular race. And yeah, as for further down the field, there are a couple others that look somewhat strong, like Rowland also didn't have a great time in Sao Paulo, looking to recover. He wasn't too far off the pace. We saw the Lola running pretty solidly for both Maloney and De Grassi as well, who set the pace early on. Interesting. It's great to see all that we talked all about the race, but the problem is it's so difficult because it's so close. You don't really know if you're going to be at the back or maybe with potentially a chance to get into the duels here. So yeah, come qualifying, that's going to be really, really interesting. But yeah, first day's play done, another day to go, and that's the important one because that's when the points are handed out.
Absolutely. And you can join us tomorrow, Saturday, the 11th of January. We'll be live at 1:25 for free practice 2. Qualifying coming your way at 3:30. And the 2025 Hankook Mexico City E-Prix, we're on air at 7:30. Lights out at 8. And followed that by the post-race press conference at 9:35. And off air at 10. Now, all those times are GMT. My thanks to you, Ed. My thanks to you, Jess. Megan Birch will be taking you through qualifying and practice 2 tomorrow alongside Ed Hunter and Josh Turner. Join us for that here on Formula E Zone and JB Motorsports. My thanks to you two in the box. My thanks to all of you at home. Free practice 1 done. Me and Jess will be back for the race. Join Megan, JT and Ed for practice 2 and qualifying tomorrow. Bye-bye.